back in the 1960s, the United States Air Force used one of its arms. I'm finding the wrong word here. Resources through NASA, and the United States Air Force has been heavily involved in NASA from the get-go. And one of the resources that NASA has was the RAND Corporation, which was a think tank originally set up, to think of things. And so anyway, the United States Air Force went to them and said, look, we want to know, what would happen supposedly if some intelligent species, some other civilization showed up here. What would happen? So they handed that off as a subcontract to the Brookings Foundation down in New York, and they did a huge report on this thing. But the summary, which is about 75 pages long, out of a 1,400-page report, basically said that social order would break down, the monetary system would break down, blah 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 blah. It was basically all of the bad things that would happen in the Bible, and so would happen, So I think this pretty much put the cap on it as far as the United States Air Force is concerned. It was one of the big leaders on this. They probably did more research than anybody else on this, and then they buried it. They went down, not the report. They went from overtly looking into this through the Project Blue Book, which is a sham.
Yeah.
Particularly in the later years, it just became a ridiculous thing. A lot of the reports, when you read them, they're so evidently not investigated, and with the silliest bloody explanations on them.
Yeah.
Came out, and we look at those a lot. But anyway, this is, like you were saying earlier, and I've been saying this all along, this is an embarrassment.
Yes, it is, yes.
The United States Air Force, Canadian Air Force, at the same time, came up with the service reports. They were simultaneously enacted both in Canada and the United States, basically because we were NORAD, beginning NORAD at that time. So we were sort of slaved together on an air defense, radar defense system, because of the Soviets and everything. So they came up with this. They always come up with this. There's no significant threat to national security. But they can't do anything about them. I don't know how they can make that claim if they can't stop them. But basically, they're outclassed every time they try to go up against these things. They're outflown. They can't catch up with them. They can't do a thing to them. And and then, basically, although they didn't have the same agreement going in the United Kingdom or Great Britain, whatever it was in those days, they basically had the same response. All three of them say the same thing. Unidentified flying objects prove no threat to national security, so therefore we have no interest in them. But I mean, in this day and age, in terrorism and everything, you don't have any interest in any unidentified flying object. Whose flying object is this one,
Yeah.
Remember the unidentified, well, they weren't unidentified, they were identified, but you know what happened in New York back in 2011?
Right.
9/11. Yeah. And there's this real problem with getting around that. But it seems like whatever's going on here is pushing the issue. Yet it's kind of hard to not look at this thing and then sort of extrapolate that into what's controlling this. Now, quite often, the people who usually know nothing about this and are, who get annoyed because people think, well, there's unidentified flying objects. Of course there are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you would call the Germans when they were invading, during the Battle of Britain when they were coming over. They were unidentified until the pilots found them and started shooting them down. These are, of course, German aircraft. That's just typical of the name.
Yeah.
It's they're bogies. But they're the fact that there must be something controlling these things, whether it's a phenomena. We haven't been able to nail that down. They're not top secret aircraft. I spent a lot of time shooting that down because I spend a lot of my time in aviation, writing about it and so on. I know what's up there. I know pretty much right to the minute what they're playing with down there. And even if they've got something hidden, some new type of aircraft that they're working on down there, they're not letting us know about, and I suspect they probably have something because they've since, mothballed the SR-71 they were using.
Yeah.
I don't really think they need that type of an aircraft anymore now because of the satellite technology they have, and they seem to be working with, believe it or not, airships now. something they can get up there to, just hang in the atmosphere at 100,000 feet, well outside of the enemy's borders, and keep an eye on them.
Right.
And they don't have to worry about the satellite crossing over and then trying to pick it up at the next satellite or tasking a satellite into a new position to see something. They can just stay there and observe, ad nauseum, except for the maybe weather conditions, clouds and so on. But anyway, that is. But those don't account for anything. There was the CIA. The CIA even years ago tried to claim that a lot of these things people were seeing were U-2s and the SR-71. Well, that's nonsense. I mean, a U-2 up at 70,000 feet, it's not going to account for something somebody saw that was right down low and made his engine die or scaring the heck out of the family, or something like that. Some of these, in-your-face encounters.
Right.
And the U-2, most of these things were clandestine. They were flown out of other countries over the Soviet Union, and pictures were taken.
Mm-hmm.
That might account over in that area, but it's not going to account a heck of a lot of the times down in continental North America, although we did fly them out of here, too. And the SR-71, another deal, too. Not very many of them, either. The other one is the B-2 bomber. Well, these things must be all over the world to be seen, as many as there are in the run of the day, if you want to account for triangular types. There's only 20. I think right now there's only 19, because one crashed in Guam last year. That's B-2B bombers, all right? That's all they've got. And as for the stealth fighter, there's 49 of those, the last I heard count of, and they're not making any more. Matter of fact, they're phasing them out.
It's strange.
So, you can't blame it on that sort of thing and secret technology. You don't take your secret technology and then fly it over the suburbs, so a bunch of people can stand there and start reporting it to the police.
Right, right.
It just doesn't make any sense in that regard. So, we get into this other thing about the what we call the ETH, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Most scientists, including SETI, believe that there's probably life elsewhere in the universe. So the question is, did some of them stumble across us earlier on? It doesn't have to have been in the last 10 or 50 or 100 or 1,000 years. Civilization, the universe is about 14 billion years old. There's plenty of time for civilizations to come up, not just one, probably thousands of them throughout the universe, if not in our own galaxy. And let's just stick with our own galaxy. And these people, when you get into space and eventually really take space seriously and start to research it, things are going to change. You're going to have a different sort of a mindset for people who travel through space as opposed to those working and living on the ground. Family units are going to change and so on. You're going to have to ignore the fact that you've got family back there because you're probably never ever going to see them again, that type of thing. And who even thinks these people think the same, or these intelligences think the same way as we do?
Right.
So they're ranging through space for millions of years, possibly. Have got such a complete. They're if you're one of the guys that I'm really impressed with is Michio Kaku, who's an astrophysicist in the United States at Columbia University and one other university that he lectures at, and he has them staged in 3 classes if there is intelligences and how far it would go. They go from basically being spacefarers like we are at the infancy stage up to the point where they start controlling celestial mechanics in their area. Right up to the point where they can control the orbits of planets and so on. We're talking about people or some kind of an intelligence with super abilities, and powers and able to control whatever. That's how far he gets into it. You don't have to take my word for it. Go on YouTube, look it up, and type in Michio Kaku, and then you'll find him talking about it. The various, and he talks openly. This is a phenomenon that has to be explored. It shouldn't be blown off the way most scientists do.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite scientists. Kaku is really groundbreaking, not only for his work, but for the idea that he is a true scientist and the idea that he is taking things into consideration and keeping his mind open to possibilities which dogmatic science over the last 50 to 150 years has operated on.
Yeah. Well, you take our own... We have the technology right now. If we had the time... if there was a comet or an asteroid that might possibly impact this planet, right? And they talk about it all the time now, and the possibilities of it happening sooner or later. To send a team into space, get out to some asteroid. I'm not talking about something that's the size of New York City or something like this, but maybe something in the range of a couple hundred tons or something like that, getting out there, use some of our technology to get this thing to move slightly out of its orbit, just enough so that it'll miss us, you know.
Yeah.
And the next time around, maybe we'll be able to get rid of it. Once we do that, we will have actually influenced celestial mechanics to a certain degree.
That's right.
A heavenly body, and made it do something that we couldn't have ever have done before. So that's the beginning of our own control over, and we can do it. It could be done.
Yeah.
You know, within reason. And mind you, if some other thing coming along, like some of them out there, these things are huge. I think some are as much as 300-400 miles in diameter that are still out in the asteroid belt, are still moving around. And if they, something like that, that's going to be a real. A 200-ton object would be a planet killer, probably. But I don't know how big the one was that supposedly got the dinosaur, killed the dinosaurs back 60 million years ago. But I understand it was a fierce. It wasn't as big as I would have thought it would have been.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we have the ability right now, if we just put our mind to it, put the money in.
I agree. You're listening to the Don Ledger interview on Unified Field Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown, and he is the author of Dark Object with Chris Stiles and Maritime UFO Files, as well as Swiss Air Down. Hope you're enjoying the program. We're going to take a little break here and come back with the end of the interview. Stick around.
I just love making pizza. I make pizza 7 days a week until 5 a.m. 5 a.m.
Freeman's Little New York, the home of gourmet pizzas and so much more. We offer hearty pastas, fresh seafood dishes, and breakfast all day long.
Oh yes, a breakfast. I can make breakfast for you all day, anytime.
Visit us at 6092 Quinpool Road, Halifax, or take advantage of our free delivery from 4 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Yes, call 455-7000. I'll make your pizza.
Freeman's Little New York, the best.
Hey, don't forget Grafton Street.
Right. Join us at our new location at 1726 Grafton Street, Halifax.
Buy pizza. It's delicious, huh?
Freeman's Little New York, the best slice in town.
The Dalhousie Women's Centre is a gender-inclusive, safe space for all people in the HRM. Located next to the Dalplex, the DWC offers a resource library and study space for both research and personal reading, a community cupboard and a kitchen, a common hangout space, internet services, free babysitting to single parents, and advocacy services. The DWC provides the only pre-crisis referral service in the HRM and effectively links students to a wide variety of services in the metro area. The philosophy and mandate of the DWC is social justice and the creation of a community open and equal to the diversity of all students. We offer a free meeting space for women-positive groups, as well as informal and formal gatherings. We also offer our own free lectures, workshops, first aid trainings, and peer counseling. Volunteer opportunities are available. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 at 6286 South Street, 494-2432, or at dwc@dal.ca. We're also online at dalwomencentre.ca.
The presidential election in Ghana has been narrowly won by the opposition candidate John Atta Mills. Ghana's electoral commission says.
Sick of corporate news? Would rather hear from people in your community and communities across Canada? Tune out the static and tune into Groundwire, 30 minutes of grassroots news produced by independent, on-the-ground journalists and campus community radio stations from coast to coast to coast. Released the first Monday of every month. To listen, contribute, or learn more, visit groundwire.ncra.ca. This is a project of the National Campus and Community Radio Association. Made by you, for you.
Hi, my name is John Epworth, master of the improvements. Not their master, but you know what I mean. We like CKDU. It's really fun, and when I grow up, I would like to chart on 88.1 FM. In Halifax.
You are listening to the Unified Field with your host, Mr. Justin Brown.